Time is obviously of the essence when it comes to cooking the expressway, but crucially, it's also about how long food takes to make, not to cook, and about using moments to get ahead when you have them. So for a really yummy get-ahead supper, maple chicken and ribs in a sticky marinade with baked potatoes and chive sour cream. And to follow, a pudding with real wow factor. Passion fruit and ginger trifle. No one will ever believe how easy it is. Then a dazzling dinner that can be made 2 days in advance. How's that for organised? Fast to make and slow to cook, lamb, olive and sweet onion tagine. And an incredibly easy ice cream cake, dribbling with butterscotch sauce. Quick prep and slow cooking, marinating and freezing. These are my tricks to get ahead. Playing with time the expressway, quick, slow. Sometimes the expressway is all about getting things done in advance. I am evangelical in my belief that a few minutes spent working earlier can save you hours later. I've got 6 people coming for supper tomorrow night. What I've got to do now, just before I go to bed, is get out some ribs and chicken, and a bit of apple juice, and then I shall begin my marinade, smoky, sweet, spicy, and get these in the fridge overnight. Tomorrow morning at breakfast time, it'll take me really a few minutes to knock up a luscious trifle, and then it'll all be done. Anyway, I'm just going to get a tray now, in case of leakage. So first, on the ribs and chicken, I want some maple syrup, about 4 tablespoons, and it helps the chicken and the ribs really brown up and get sticky and glossy when they go in the oven tomorrow. I've got 12 skin-on, bone-in chicken thighs and 12 ribs. I want 2 tablespoons of soy, another slight darkener, but also a bit of salt, always good. And again, only 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now the reason you don't need much oil, even though there's a lot of meat here, is because the ribs will render down their fat, and this is what the chicken cooks in. I'm going to pop in a cinnamon stick. I love the faintly sweet scent that cinnamon gives you. This isn't very much, but it'll just infuse the meat slightly and make the room smell divine when people come in. I want 2 star anise, and these have a sort of more pungent, earthier fragrance than cinnamon. And if you can't get them, don't worry, just put in 2 teaspoons of allspice berries. And now garlic, and this is very easy because I'm not even peeling the garlic. I want 6 cloves. It's true that because they're unpeeled, the garlic won't yield an awful lot of flavour while it's marinating, but they will soak up some of the marinade, and when this roasts, you will get such a wonderful, mild, sweet hit of garlic. And finally, some apple juice. You need about 250 mils of apple juice. Try and get a sharp one, and it's this sharpness that really cuts through the meat and helps this become so tender tomorrow. Now it's true it does need to sit in the fridge marinading overnight, but no skin off my nose. I don't have to do anything. In fact, I will be sleeping. Don't worry, this isn't hair of the dog. It's some ginger wine for my passion fruit and ginger trifle. I'm going to start off with some bought loaf cakes, very plain sponge, about 500 grams. I'm going to put the first loaf just squidged on to this cake stand. I like doing it on a stand like this just because it looks more spectacular. And then pour over about a liqueur glass full of ginger wine. If you can't get ginger wine, I would just sprinkle over about half a teaspoon of ground ginger and use rich sweet sherry. Now the second cake, again, squodge it on top. I like to create something of a hillock here. It somehow gives it a certain grandeur, though an informal sort, which is really the only tolerable kind. And another liqueur glass full of ginger wine, and this will get beautifully absorbed into this sponge mound while I get some cream to beat up to go on top. Just need 1 big pot of double cream. On top, 4 teaspoons of icing sugar. And I think I'll grab myself, fix it, 2 of these passion fruit here. Scoop them into the bowl of cream. So it's a bit like making a rather light fruit fool. Last bit, and then I think I'll just set this onto a gentle whir so it whips up softly while I can ritually disembowel the remaining 6 passion fruit. I love the wild, free-form nature of this trifle. It's very, very relaxing somehow. That looks about it actually. I'm just going to dive in. Let's have a look-see. Now you see, this is why I want it softly whipped, because I want to drape it over this golden mound of liqueur sodden sponge. I never feel guilty about anything, well, at least nothing to do with food. It's not in my makeup. But I do feel a bit guilty about this because everyone always thinks I've been slaving away for days. And now, to crown this glorious cream-topped mound, the remaining 6 passion fruit, pulp, seeds, fragrant juice, everything. And please be relaxed about this freeform trifle. It couldn't be more relaxed itself. So that if you want to use different liqueur, different fruit, kiwis you could, but just don't tell me about it. Do anything. I have to say, I do not believe there could be a simpler way of making something as sensational as this. The end of a long day is when you really reap the rewards of the express get-ahead strategy. I mean, I'm not even back in the kitchen yet, and already dinner is almost done. And this is all I've got to do now. I open the bag of marinated ribs and chicken. These are going to be divine. And I just dip them into a large tray, and by now the apple juice will have begun to tenderize the meat, and I can tell that the maple syrup has just infused everything with that wonderful smoky resiny sweetness. And I know I shouldn't really be pleased about the deceit, but everyone will be thinking that I've ground some magical spice mix up and spent ages rubbing it over everything before putting this in the oven. And you've seen, I mean, 3 minutes work maximum. Now this needs about 1 hour and a quarter at 220. So what I'm cooking alongside are baked potatoes, so there's space in the oven, so may as well. Although potatoes will cook in that time, I think you never want an undercooked baked potato, and the fuller an oven is, the longer everything takes to cook. So I am impaling each potato with a metal skewer, and how this works is simply that this metal heats up, so the potatoes cook from inside as well as from the heat that goes all around them. And again, it's a bit like the marinading last night. This will take a bit of time, but I don't have to do anything while it cooks. Right, so in they go to the oven. I always like to put baked potatoes straight on the rack, because I think if you use a tin or a tray, it stops them really crisping up. And a baked potato has got to have a wonderful crunchy, crispy jacket, otherwise it's disappointment. Fluffy within, crunchy on the outside. Perfect. And now, the chicken and ribs. Ooh, this is heavy. Straight on top. And I'm just going to ignore these for 1 hour and a quarter. I don't need to do anything. So I will start on some accompaniments. I love baked potatoes with sour cream and chives. And this is how simple this is. I've got a good sized tub of sour cream. Then in that I want half a teaspoon of grain mustard, 1 teaspoon of coarse salt, and lots, really good grinding of white pepper. And I'm going to give these chives a very good trim, snip them straight in. I suppose it's about 5 tablespoons or so. And stir everything together so everyone can give themselves a dollop or two of the sour cream into their baked potato, perfect on top of that creamy, fluffy interior. I want a final few little confetti pieces of chives on top of this, and then I have a final flourish, some pickled red cabbage. So this kind of serves both as salad and vegetable, and this is how easy it is. Open a jar. Pickled red cabbage, I think, is one of the really underestimated, undervalued condiments in life. It couldn't be better. And you know what? I've got nothing to do now. It's not that I haven't got a bit of fiddling about to do, but I will be so relaxed when everyone arrives, so I'll enjoy supper too. Just a little light supper.
Oh, that's what we're all here for.
I don't have any objections. Sure. Okay.
Thanking you.
It's a little baby potato.
Thank you. You said anything about portion control?
Not around this table.
I know, I'm afraid not.
Thank you. Oh, look at the colour of that.
I know, isn't it incredible?
Indeed. How long did this take?
Well, no time for the prep. I just left it all like this in the fridge. So just a trifle. After all that, I'm now going to ruin it in a good cause.
Absolutely delicious.
What I want to know is how you managed to do this.
Well, actually, I did it really early this morning. I'm not that early, but when I got up, it was very easy, just a few minutes in the fridge. See, look, I've got you fooled. This, for me, is the essence of express cooking. I've got a little bit of time to myself, doesn't happen that often, and in 2 days' time I've got some people over for supper, so I can get ahead now, get everything cooked, and when they come, I will be able to entertain them and feed them without so much as getting a glowing brow. What I'm making is a real favourite of mine. It's my lamb, caramelised onion and olive tagine. Really, it's a stew, but with fantastic, deep Moroccan flavours. Start off with a kilo of diced lamb leg. And you'll notice that I'm not browning the meat. It's traditional when making a stew to dredge the meat in seasoned flour and then brown it. You'd have to do this in quite a few batches. It would take a long time. So this is a real express shortcut. The important thing to know is it doesn't make any difference, and you really get the flavour of the meat this way too. The caramelised onion element does not come from my slaving over a hot stove and letting onions sweat, sweeten, cook down for 2 or 3 hours. It comes out of a jar. They are quite sweet, so you don't need to use too much here, about 100 grams. Wonderful, shiny and dense. And now some olives, because it's really important to counter the sweetness of the onion with the saltiness and tang of black olives. You need about 150 grams of drained weight, so if you're buying a jar of them, it's about 350 grams. I use pitted olives, which normally come in brine, and I know purists look down on them, but I promise you, you don't want everyone having to eat spoonfuls of stew with stones in their olives. 4 tablespoons of wonderful alligator skinned capers. A little bit of spice work now. 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. And that imparts a rather gentle but still resonant heat. And, you know, you can't evoke the taste of Morocco without some cumin. 2 teaspoons again, gorgeously grassy. And I want garlic not just as a flavouring, but as an actual component of this casserole. So I want a whole head, but the cloves just broken up, don't worry, no peeling, and dropped in. And actually what will happen is that the garlic will soften immensely. You can just squish the bits of garlic out as you eat. Finally, a bottle of red wine. Lovely fruity red wine. And this is the joy, because there's really nothing to do. It's all in one pan, and just let it come to the boil, letting the flavours all start to mingle together. And obviously it makes my life easier that I'm going to reheat this in 2 days after it's been in the fridge. But the point is, it's not just about ease, it's actually about the flavours, because letting this sit for 2 days in the fridge will really allow the flavours to mellow and get so delicious and the meat so tender. Okay, so it's come to the boil now. I'm just going to clamp on a lid, put it in the oven. It's on pretty low, 150. And I can forget about it now. Well, it cooks for 2 hours. And then I am pantry bound to start the pudding of all puddings. After the warm tones of my wine dark stew, I want to bring out something that will help everyone cool down. And I'm making my ice cream cake with butterscotch sauce, which relies heavily on ingredients that are dangerously appealing to my children. Well, they appeal to everyone, so I had to keep them somewhere they will never look. Afraid this is it. But luckily, I can grab them now, untouched by small hands, and just one stop at the freezer, and it's more or less done. Spectacular though this cake is, you need just ordinary, regular vanilla ice cream for it. It's what you put in that makes a difference. I'm going to leave those there to soften a little and get on with some of the filling. You need 150 grams of bourbon biscuits, and I like to use some honeycomb, chocolate covered for preference, about a 40-gram bar. And then just go at them together with a rolling pin in a freezer bag until some are rubble, some dust, and some sizable crumbs. You need 1.5 litres of ice cream. So on top of this, you sprinkle your cookie and honeycomb crumbs. Oh, lovely. I'm going to keep some back because I like to sprinkle these over the cake when it's unmoulded. And now some peanuts, not ordinary peanuts, but honey roast peanuts. Yes, I know, more sugar, but you start worrying about the sugar content here. It's a bit of a waste of time. So in they go, 100 grams is plenty. And, oh, I love these. They're new in my life. Can't actually get them in England except online, and I'm such an internet shopping junkie. That's how I do it. They're chocolate and peanut butter swirled morsels or chips. They look like miniature circus tents. I want 200 grams of these. But don't worry if you can't get these, because to be honest, you can use milk chocolate chips, dark chocolate chips, white chocolate chips. In fact, any chips except potato chips. Again, I want to hold some back for sprinkling on top. They look so beautiful. While this is whirring, I am going to line the tin. Just makes it easier to get out later. And I have been taught a trick, which is that if you tear your cling this way round, it always comes out in a straight line. Ah, magic. Yeah, so 1/2. The other half. you get a few creases, because I haven't done it that neatly, but that doesn't matter. Once it's sprinkled and served, it won't show. I don't think it's the cook's role to try and win applause. Obviously not. But nevertheless, I have to say it's very gratifying to make something that's as simple as this, but is just so spectacular when you serve it. Okay, so in it goes. Ah, look at that speckled beauty. It's pretty fabulous as it is, but I think an extra and worthwhile touch is to drizzle it with warm butterscotch sauce. All you need to do is bung a few things in a pan and heat them up while the tagine is in the oven reheating, so no work. Fold over the bits of cling just to protect the top. So into the freezer with a cake. And the tagine is cooked and cooled, so this can go into the fridge. Job done. So fast forward 2 days and I have people coming for supper. Do I look stressed? Well, absolutely not. There's no need to be. I have supper ready and waiting for me in the fridge. All I need to do is apply heat. So the thing about this express get-ahead strategy is really this. It makes for effortless entertaining. So the day is done and dinner is a breeze. Just want to heat up the tagine. Yeah. And in fact, I am now using an actual tagine. It's a shallow base dish with a tall conical lid. Because it's so shallow, it will heat up much faster. It'll only need half an hour. I love the sombre dark beauty of this. Just a bit of foil, but I'll put its hat on when I serve and it will look beautiful. So the oven's at 200 and will take half an hour, and I can get on with a few other things at a leisurely pace. So kettle on, that's for the couscous, and now, joy of joys, the butterscotch sauce for the ice cream cake. With some cream and some butter. Always a good start to a recipe. You need about 2 tablespoons worth of unsalted butter and 2 tablespoons as well of ordinary white sugar, 3 tablespoons of light brown muscovado sugar. You can use ordinary soft light brown sugar. I just love the treacliness you get from muscovado. And, just in case it isn't sweet enough, some golden syrup. Quite a bit, you can see. I suppose about 2 espresso cups worth. Right, so heat on. This needs to bubble up and keep bubbling for about 5 minutes. And actually, I could have made this 2 days ago when I did everything else, but it's so simple to make. It's frankly no harder than reheating. And who's going to complain about the scent of butterscotch wafting through the house when they come in? Right, it's had its 5 minutes bubbling now, so a few drops of good vanilla and about 125 millilitres of double cream. This is really the perfect time to make this. No one's arrived yet, I'm calm, and although it's really piping hot and runny now, by the time it's sat and we've eaten our tagine, it'll be warm and really gooey, just right for drizzling over the ice cream cake. And now the couscous, which is the perfect accompaniment to the tagine. But I have a rather non-Moroccan way of making it. It's express, it's easy, and it makes sense. Got 500 grams of couscous. Then I want about a teaspoon of coarse salt, or half that amount if you're using fine flowing salt. and half a teaspoon of ground ginger. This echoes the flavour in the tagine, but without overwhelming the couscous, because this should be a comforting blanket, not too forceful. And I simply pour water from a recently boiled kettle over. I don't measure it, I just make sure it comes about 5 centimetres above the couscous. And then cover with cling, and by the time all the water has been absorbed, the couscous will be ready. It is the perfect express ingredient. And now for my final flourish. The couscous is ready. You can see there is no more liquid visible. Needs a bit of a fluff up. Use a fork for this. And then just spoon it into a large bowl. Love a large bowl. And then, and this makes such a difference, grate some orange zest all over the top. And the zest gives you the oil of the fruit and all that wonderful aroma, but it doesn't dampen it as it would if you put the it is still darkly glimmering. I want to cover that, but not obscure it, just highlight it with a leafy sprinkling of coriander. That is the herb for this. It's got exactly the right earthiness. And because this deserves to be bejewelled, and this is the express way, I don't get the seeds out of a pomegranate. I go to a supermarket and buy the seeds already in a tub. Gorgeous. And with the minimum of effort, a sumptuous supper is served. There we are.
Smells nice.
Really lovely.
You're frightened that's going to give you too much.
No, it is not too much.
I love eating out of bowls. I always feel more relaxed. I like the shoveling action. Sit tight. I had a sweet treat in store. Just a little something.
Look at that.
My idea of perfect dessert.
Yeah, I somehow thought it might be.
That's just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
The sauce just blends it all together, doesn't it?
Nothing succeeds like excess.
An animated character pitches up at the Dragon's Den next year on BBC Two. Little Britain kicks off an hour of comedy on BBC Three, and on BBC Four the possibilities of quantum physics on Visions of the Future.